Hello friends, welcome. Welcome to Gurukol. Today we have Rod. Rod is a total wellness coach. He will provide you the in-depth knowledge about how a wellness coach adheres to the student and how student can go a long distance in really taking care of their health. There is a philosophy that Rod follows, and let me read his quote. Rod believes that there is no failure, only feedback, and that our first wealth is our health. And that's so very true, right? And that's Rod. Rod is defined by this very feature about his quote. So without further ado, my dear friends, my viewers, thanks for being here. And of course, we really like you to see all our Guru Talk shows. And we all together welcome Rod. Rod, welcome on Guru Talk Show. And please go ahead. I'm handing it over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. First off, I appreciate you very much for the opportunity to come onto your show and an opportunity to have a conversation. I'm going to just imagine that I'm just having a conversation with you that'll help me to get through this a little bit better. But yes, as you mentioned, my name is Rod Sims. I am the owner of a company called Billboard's Wellness 360. As of last October, it actually turned 10 years old. Although I've been in the health, wellness, and fitness industries for right at about 20 years now, quickly knocking on 20 years. An experience that has taken me from what used to be or started out as a one-dimensional approach and just wanting to get people healthier, just wanting to get people to lose weight, if you will. An experience that very quickly began to evolve into wanting to investigate the whole person, wanting to know more about the whole person and this whole process, this whole phenomenon, this whole American pastime, which is losing weight, and then the even more fun part, which is obviously going back and finding that weight. And it just didn't make sense to me at the time that I started. I had people that I worked with back at that time at the beginning of my career, fresh out of college, as someone who was just focused on the fitness side of things. And you would have these people showing up for their appointment. I knew that they would show up and at least work out. But then just based upon the perimeters and the parameters, I guess, that you had to work with these clients, you were only really able to be accountable for one thing or maybe two times at most during the week for this client's progress. So I wanted to know more about what was going on outside of the gym. When they weren't sweating and getting that heart rate up. What were some of the other factors that were going on in their life? Which, as I began to evolve my career, came to look at this from more of a biopsychosocial approach. So it was never just going to be about this person working out solely, but what are the other factors in this person's life? Where do they work? Do they work? Where do they live? Do they have a home or an apartment? Which each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. Is this person a student? Do they have children? So are they male or female? All of these things will play a factor. Is this a smoker or non-smoker, a drinker or not? How do they handle anger, disappointment? How do they handle success? So as the career went on, it quickly changed from just wanting to make sure that my coworkers were healthier and able to live long enough to see their children graduate, let alone get married and have families of their own. It was about also educating myself. And anytime you work with other people, and I'm sure you can attest, you always want to know, what can I do better for this person? What can I do to ensure that this person has all of the opportunity for success as much as possible, without me getting in the way? So from that standpoint, it led to asking more questions. Looking at my own experiences. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog eating out of her bowl here.
Okay, no
It's
worries.
hot and
Yeah.
She's going to be 16 years old this year actually. So, I'm just surprised she's even still around. But but at any rate, so even from the beginning and wanting to name my company what I did and calling it Billboard's Wellness 360, I
Mhm.
wanted people to understand, obviously the billboards part, seemed kind of obvious. We're all representatives of something. As soon as we leave our homes in the morning, we're representing our family, our nationality,
Yeah.
our college or university, our profession, whatever the case may be.
True.
And then obviously the wellness 360 part, was just from a comprehensive standpoint. We want to have every opportunity to be totally well, totally healthy.
True.
Because what happens is if we put too much focus, like I was at the beginning of my career, too much focus on the physical health part, and then not enough on maybe the social element of what was going on,
Right.
or even this person's emotional or mental wellness and the challenges or struggles they may be having there. Um, Not saying that I was going to be the one to fix them, but at least have an awareness that those could be factors and bring them to the client's attention, and then obviously be able to play a role in sending them to get the necessary or the appropriate help at that point.
True.
So, but as it was in my career, uh, going from that fitness standpoint to then wanting to move forward and engage in a deeper relationship with my clients that would allow them to fully and more adequately pursue deeper health from their own needs standpoint. Um, was just going to be about going to Cooper once I was working with the city of McKinney, around the first or second year that I was working there, local government, about 900 employees. And after about a year's time of working literally elbows and necks with these guys for about a year, I began to care about them, and
True.
at the time being in my mid to late 20s at the time, and seeing some of the habits of some of my coworkers, you know, being justified because of how hard we worked on the clock, it made more sense that we would have some program in place to kind of help educate them and at least make them a little bit more aware, or at least a little bit more alert again of what they were doing. Then should they choose to continue making those choices or those decisions, they could also evaluate the cost of those actions, or
Right.
the cost of inaction should they choose to not change them. So I was afforded the opportunity in working there to go to Cooper, the Cooper Institute here in Dallas,
Nice.
and it really opened my eyes to all of these other areas of being totally well that I was previously not even aware of. I hadn't factored in or known about, intellectual wellness,
Right.
occupational wellness,
Yes.
so the social wellness standpoint, obviously financial, emotional, mental, and obviously the physical wellness standpoint. So in going there and receiving this education, excuse me, it really opened up my eyes to these other areas, which were basically opportunities for failure if we didn't take advantage of them,
True.
depending on the mindset. But on the other side of that were opportunities for success, as long as we knew about it and cared enough about them to try to improve those areas.
True. True.
So, um, so in going to Cooper and studying there and receiving a certification as a certified health promotion director, that allowed me now to address more than just a one-dimensional approach to being healthy. You know, I like to say that we're all multidimensional people. So, oftentimes when problems arise, they take multidimensional approaches.
True.
So,
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely. And it was so very well connected thoughts of whatever you laid down, that as you started your life from being somebody just on the physical attributes of of your training, of the wellness, moving on to the overall total wellness. And that's why I think the pearls of that wisdom were able to connect onto it, Uh, from that journey that you more from Cooper Hospital, sorry, from the Cooper University to this total wellness arena. What were your challenges? Is there any? Did you find that there were one path better than the other path, and why you chose certain path to just progress yourself into? Yeah.
Yeah, because actually, as I was finishing college, I was actually doing physical therapy tech work,
Mm,
and actually working in a hospital. On some weekends we would be on call,
yeah.
and if I was to measure and say what was the worst, it would be doing the inpatient therapy, and it was not about the patients,
Okay.
but more so the condition that they were in, and knowing how limited I was going to be and being able to help them. That's outside of the smells and some of the sights and things like that. But
Right.
that was some of the worst, just not being able to be of more help and of more service to them.
True. True.
Um,
Mm,
but the struggles or the challenges, I would say, I chose to begin looking at those as chances.
okay.
They were not just challenges, and that they needed to be something that I needed to be fearful or
Right.
afraid of, or rather embrace them as chances to really see how I was stacking up or how I was measuring up based upon the things that I had already learned.
Mm,
And basically that's then when the chance really came, because then in the midst of some trial, you
yeah.
understand, and
True.
or you get exposed, hey, I'm not prepared for this. And I had some of my own in my own personal life, which really from a cognitive but behavioral standpoint, or even from a mental and emotional standpoint, when
Mm,
we're going through some of the darkest, trying times of our lives,
yes.
and we're grasping at air and light and hope and all these kind of things. And it really brought to me to the forefront the
Mm,
importance of uh, our role in our village, so to speak.
yes.
Um, that what we invest into our village may not immediately come out,
Yeah.
but it's always right on time.
Yes. Right.
Meaning that if we don't put anything into our community from the things that have been that have been bestowed upon us, even from an education, knowledge, or understanding standpoint,
Right.
and don't teach them readily to those who are looking for it, I think it does a disservice. It does a dishonor to the
Yeah.
one who gave it to us.
Yes.
So the thing that I had to learn was I don't have to always be in control over where those opportunities come from,
Right.
because sometimes our creator will send us to a spot that we would never go on our own,
True. Very true. And
you know.
yeah. So you do believe in some part of destiny that leads you into opportunity comes to you. You just take it. You don't try to mess up with with those opportunities. That's very good. Nice. So as we move along, I think your coaching part is an integral part of your work now. You give service to every one of your students as well as people who come to you to ask for your help in trying to get better. And in today's pandemic world, I think is this service has taken to a new level, a new height, right? Where people are really struggling mentally, physically, emotionally, to an extent where there's some people who are just outright crazy, they're because of the way they are inside, right? So just over to you, open-ended question. What you think, what how should people be in this pandemic world? What kind of help you could give, or how should they conduct themselves? What should they be looking for actually from somebody like you to guide them?
I think predominantly, or first and foremost, is for them to understand that they're not alone. If you're someone who's experiencing overwhelm, the heaviness, of everything that's going on, um, not just the pandemic in itself, but all the things that indirectly have been a part of that. Meaning, you've also, like my family, suffered loss.
Mm.
You've suffered loss, not just from familial standpoint, you know, and
Right.
losing relatives, but you may have lost business. You may have lost your business, period. You may have lost your company. You may have lost your family.
True.
You know, with the increase in domestic violence cases from people literally being forced to be at home with one another for
Yes.
these now extended periods of time, and finding out that they really just can't stand each other,
Yeah.
and finding out really how thin that line between love and hate really is. Um, it's important for all of us to continue to grow and develop self, not from the standpoint of being selfish. That's not what I mean, but
No.
from the standpoint of constantly we are evaluating ourselves, you know, taking inventory, if you will.
Mm.
That's why one of the main practices that I think people get the most out of is journaling, writing. You know, keep a journal
Yeah.
of not only you know, we see this in a lot of arenas, whether it's in the health and wellness with nutrition, tracking workouts, but also in the psychological community, where you're writing down or taking note of your mood, your
True.
attitude, the kind of thoughts that you find yourself having,
Mhm.
the ability then to question the negative thoughts that come in, you know, to be able to challenge those negative thoughts, the ones that you can't just let float on by like a cloud, the
True.
ones that keep on sneaking up on you, the ones that kind of ravage you a little bit, and kind of start bankrupting you of quality sleep at night.
Yeah.
You want to be able to go talk to someone that you trust, you know, be able to uh, identify what some of those thoughts and feelings and emotions are that you're having, start looking and investigating into why you are,
Yeah.
and you know how those thoughts are serving you or hindering you, and do something about it. Don't just sit with it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just sit with something. If you know, as soon as it comes to our attention that this is an issue or that this is a problem,
Mm.
I think it's incumbent upon us to take advantage of that opportunity to go talk to someone.
True.
And a sad thing in today's society is so hard to find someone who is honestly going to help you, and not just be waiting and listening so they can post it as part of their story on social media.
True. True.
You
Absolutely.
know, so
I would
it
like to.
makes people a little less you know, a little less optimistic about finding someone that they can really confide in, especially when they're feeling at their weakest, their lowest, their most vulnerable.
Yes.
So it's that in itself is a challenge. For about the last year and a half or so, there's just been a flood of more calls, emails regarding depression, anxiety, general overwhelm. People looking and facing so much uncertainty, and not being able to sleep at night, not being able to rest, and all of those thoughts being negative ones.
Yeah.
And I learned in the midst of my own adversity that at that time that you come to the realization that you really are not in control over anything
Mm.
that happens, but more so our response or our reaction to those things that are happening a lot of times,
Mm.
that um, the same way that things were working out for you before, when you had no idea of what kind of calamity or tragedy was heading toward us, and we slept at night, you know, maybe being small kids, and
Mm.
you know, our mom or dad, just the comfort of knowing that they were in the next room allowed us to sleep. You
True.
know, as we got older, it became the nature sounds of thunder, and you know, the rain and different wild animals, or going to sleep listening to Bob Marley, whatever it was
Yes.
that gives us the comfort that we need to sleep at night. And people don't have that nowadays. It's a struggle for them to find that.
Yeah.
Without being having all the lights turned on to them, because now they are the sympathetic victim in somebody's social media story. When they just came to them one-on-one for help,
Yeah.
and now they're part of somebody's mission to get likes and attention on the
Yeah.
internet. So
You're so
it makes it a bit more difficult. But I enjoy, not that people are going through things, but just I think that people already should be commended for going to get help. But
Mm.
going to get help is only part of it.
Yes.
The other part of it is not being an ask hole,
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
ASKHOLE,
Yeah. Yeah. Keep
because
on.
these are the ones who come and get help or come ask for help, but they don't do anything with it.
Yes. You have to be
So,
accountable, right? Yeah.
right.
Mm.
So that's the other part of it. But there's a natural resistance to any change that comes, and we come to expect that. So you
Mm.
try to make that transition to and through their resistance as quickly as possible,
True.
because you want to go on and get to progress,
Yeah.
and go ahead and put their resistance in the rear view, you
Right.
know, uh, because we hear and we read all the time that an hour of doing something is far better than 10 or 20 hours of sitting and thinking about it.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Very true.
people are so afraid of failure,
Mm.
and this pandemic and other things that we go through make us from time to time, make cowards of us and make us feel like failure.
Yeah.
But that's why I like to say that there is no failure, there's just feedback.
Feedback.
All we're receiving day in and day out, whether it's my wife, if we get up in the morning and she, comes running up and gives me a big hug and kiss, the feedback is she's happy with me.
Happy. Yes.
The day that she gets up and the doors are slamming, she's banging dishes, any of those kind of things, she's not very happy with me, would
Happy.
be the
Yes.
feedback. you
Feedback.
know but everything is feedback, rather than looking at it as failure. And I think we all, as we get to be in our 30s, 40s and better, can look back and we see a lot of instances that in the midst of, they felt a whole lot, they smelled a whole lot like failure.
Yes.
They
But
actually ended up being such areas of blooming, we had something magnified to us that allowed us to grow and produce, from what was really ugliness,
true. Very
and near rot, you know. But that's where faith plays such a huge role, and that's can be a controversial subject with a lot of people. Um, I have no problems expressing the fact that I am a person who has faith that everything that is happening is working for my good,
true.
and I will let that be known in my actions, and then the way that I vocalize that to other people, not to high side, not to be arrogant or conceited. I am convinced, just of checking my history and the things that I've gone through and the things that I've seen, that
Mhm.
if any of those dark times and moments of weakness were left up to me, I'd still be there.
True. True.
So I know that it wasn't me that brought me out. It was people, obviously praying on my behalf to the one who was in control of making something happen.
True. True.
So, but yes, that faith component of just knowing that uncertainty does not have to be an area of anxiety.
Yeah.
Just we never know what's going to happen, from one moment to the next, or from one day to the next.
True.
But we have things that we get excited about. We have things that we start getting hyped about. And I think that's such a key component to living, not existing, but
Yeah.
to living, is to have something that you are waking up excited about every day.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
in this life of again of checking for feedback, not for areas of failure, you know, if we are examining ourselves right now, and are we still getting up every day with something to be excited about?
We need to identify
It,
that, right? Everyone has to identify their own the
right,
sweet spot of what excites them to get up in the morning
right,
and start the day, right? Yeah.
right.
I want to also.
And not as much time
Mm,
thinking about the things that are keeping them up at night.
yes, yes. Too much
More emphasis and more focus on the things that excite them about getting up.
getting up.
Less less anxiety about the things that are keeping them up at night.
True, very true, very true.
So,
And
yeah.
many of my viewers, they will so well resonate with whom do I confide in my shortcomings? Whom do I tell them my anxiety? So many of my viewers, they just kind of let it go inside. Of course, they already go to Gurukol, but going on to one friend and confiding them something and then finding it on a social media is so very common nowadays. Somebody taking advantage of it, and you highlighted it in a very good way, in a very articulate fashion, that yes, this happens. And that's why you need a guru. You need a guru who trust, who can help you to grow, who can help you to understand what are your shortcomings, who can help you to bridge the gap between what you would like to be and what you are, and then help you to fight the inner darkness, right? So, to wellness program, the total wellness, what Rod Sims brings in is basically, it's all about that. It's all about that. It's bridging the gap between what you would like to be and what you are, right? And then, of course, the trust factor, because somebody who is a third person, who is not really involved into your day-to-day life, but they understand everything from the perspective of a third person, and with the skills and the knowledge and the experience they have dealing with those situations in for last 20 years, that brings so much of wealth and guidance power to the students, and that's the best part of it. And certainly, Todd, nobody would really go in and then pull that up on his social media or in anywhere else. I would just say that,
No,
that it will be just 101 between the student and you. I'm sure about it, Rod. But very well said, because this happens, even the slightest of the murmur, it just goes on social media to get the views, to get the notoriety, to get all your all the distractions in life, and then you get depressed. That's such a common cycle nowadays. It's a common theme, and pandemic has really exploded that theme, because now you have more disposable time sitting on your couch watching some TV show, and then you find something and boom, there you are. That gossip mongering goes on. uh, uh, good thought, really good thought about it, Rod. And I really want to kind of dwell into, if you go further beyond this pandemic, you laid out some strategies regarding how you go about helping somebody to guide them. I really was impressed on that part. Now, my viewers would like to know a little bit more about in depth about your thing, like what you would like to do when somebody comes to you, they have some issues, or what is your strategy regarding those?
I know it may sound bland, but it depends. It depends on what they're coming for,
Mm,
which is why I like the idea of having a what I would call a discovery slash strategy session,
mm,
because I like to make sure of what it is that this individual wants. What is their vision?
mm,
Um, as it is, I mean, whatever area this has to do with now, and the reason I feel confident, I guess, in asking them that way is because if they answer that they are working on mindset for this big career change, or
mm, mm,
maybe something is going on with their marriage, or their relationship. Um, I've been married now. Glad to say we've been married. This will be our 16th year come December. She's been putting up with me a long time,
yes.
and I've learned from her putting up with me,
Yeah.
and we learn from each other.
True.
But depending on what an individual tells me, I want to be able to go where they want to go. So I ask those questions during this discovery session to
Mm.
find out what their vision is for what it is that they want to happen.
Yeah.
Um, Recognize, what kind of challenges might come,
Hmm.
what they've done before in trying to pursue this, what worked, what didn't work. Finding out all of those kind of things is valuable, because again, there were not failures. They didn't fail before to achieve.
True.
The feedback is they didn't get to finish the process,
Yes.
or the feedback was by the end of that part of the book, they hadn't accomplished what they wanted to completely. So, and looking at it that way and looking at things, that there's a continuum. There was not a finality that took place when they tried before. It was a comma, it wasn't a period. It was just a comma. So, you want to still look at what worked, even looking now, what are they doing well, in comparison or in that lineage of what it is that they're trying to accomplish. What is it that they're already doing
True.
that is a strength, or that is an aid maybe in them accomplishing what it is that they're trying to accomplish over here. And
True.
in doing that, now you start to evaluate the tools, the resources, the skills that they may already have in place, who they may already know to help those things happen, even from the standpoint of a support system, because that's also going to be key.
True.
And then you begin looking at what a realistic, after you've accumulated some data and you see what's actually going on and what's at stake, so to speak, and even began looking at what some of the cost of inaction
Yeah.
or inactivity really are, finding out what this person now is ready, willing, and able to do to make this happen.
Nice.
Not just one time, not just ready, willing, and able to do one time, but that ability part is, what is this person able to do consistently,
Yeah.
day in and day out. That means even if I don't feel like it, that means even if I feel like I'm not ready, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, and then also looking at, obviously, the want, willing, and won't, and the difference again being, what does this person want? WANT.
Right.
What are they willing to do to
Nice.
make that happen? And
Hmm.
then W again,
Oh,
apostrophe T, won't
yeah.
they do?
Yeah.
What line are they not willing to cross in their opportunity to achieve whatever said task is? And
Yeah.
again, everything, and I'm sure you can relate and understand or would agree with this, everything is relationships.
Yes. It does.
So I wind up equipping people from the tools that I have to better the relationships that I have with food, better the relationship I have with exercise, better the relationship I have with my mind and my thoughts, better
Hmm.
my relationship that I have interpersonally, better my relationships that I have business wise, and being able to teach those with others,
Right. Very true.
to others, because
Hmm.
everything again boils down to relationship.
True.
And just the kind of connect them again, with this being mental health awareness month,
Yeah.
we tend to not address things until there's an issue.
We say we kick the can down the road, right? And then we end
Right,
up saying, wow, now it's right in your face. And now
right,
I need help. Now I need help. Why to wait till
right,
that time? You find the symptoms, you understand that you need some help. Okay. If you see something, say something, right? If you feel something, say something, right? Say it to yourself. So
right.
so surely viewers all resonate with that part. And I like your three parts. You said the want, then what they would do, and then they won't do, right? So these are the three aspects of it, right? And many times people are not very clear about what they don't want. you know Sometimes they say, oh, I want this, fine, but they're not ready to do this. And then they would say they're not ready to do this, so then they say, okay, but they don't know what they want, because as a human nature, they want everything now, they want everything together. you know.
Right.
So,
Right.
so, that's a very difficult part of any guru or a coach to kind of help person understand, what they don't want, so because it's not really focused, not really required. So, so that would be I love your approach on that, on those three aspect of it.
A couple of years back, I'm in the midst of driving anywhere from 500 to 600 miles a week, you know,
Every,
between clients and doing
uh,
presentations and junk like that, about 500 to 600 miles a week.
true, true, true.
So as it
Wow.
was one day going down the road, and one of the things that I hate more than anything, and I
Uh,
still flinch every time it
uh,
happens, is
uh,
the vehicle in front of me chipped a rock back and hit the windshield. Right? We've
wow.
all
Okay.
experienced that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it leaves a mark, sometimes it doesn't, right? But every
Yeah.
time it hits that window, you find yourself flinching and jumping.
True.
Well, a couple years back, this rock is kicked up and it hits the windshield, and there's this small crack over in the right side of the windshield,
Right.
but
Right.
it's near the bottom. It's near the bottom, so you really don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, right? Well, then, because I didn't immediately go and check on it, the little seasons changed. It got colder, and if
Uh,
you know anything about what happens to windshields
I know.
or any other crack during cold
Yeah.
times, it starts to spread.
Yes.
So be that as it may, didn't do anything with it. Not too bad. It's not too bad. I can still see out of it. I can see. Next thing you know, the whole windshield cracks all the way across. So
Yes.
now the whole
Right.
windshield is
Yeah.
cracked when it could have been taken care of when it was right here.
Small. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
When it was this small,
Yeah.
I had the tools or the equipment to fix it at home.
True. True. True.
Okay.
True.
Once it got way out here and
Yeah.
spread all across this
Yeah.
windshield,
Yeah.
I had to go get help,
And get
or
help.
I had to replace it.
True.
And the
True.
same thing goes when things start arising in our life.
Yeah.
When as soon as we start recognizing that something is off,
Mm,
something is out of whack, I don't feel myself if it's from a mental standpoint.
true.
And if you're one who journals, even if it's keeping a gratitude journal,
Right.
and you recognize, you know what, I haven't been even wanting to keep my gratitude journal lately. I would say that's a note to self
Mm,
that there's a red light going off, that there's a little bit of an alarm starting to go off. Something is going on here. I'm usually grateful, and I haven't even donated or contributed to my gratitude jar,
true. True. Understood.
in a week,
Yeah.
or something like that. So as these things come up, now you recognize it and you talk to someone, that close friend if you can. And mind you, I am not saying going to talk to a close friend is a suitable or appropriate replacement for going and
No.
getting professional help. I'm not saying that, but
No.
it starts with being able to talk to someone.
Yes. Someone.
Um,
Yeah. Say something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mm,
and doing it, that's part of one of the initial things that goes on between us and whoever it is that's on the other side, is
true.
investigating our role
Mm,
and our capacity in this relationship.
true.
Is this something that I can actually handle, and can I be humble enough to say, I'm not the person for this.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
above my pay grade, so to
Yeah.
speak. And
Yeah. True.
and and you encourage them to get help that's better than what you're able to do,
What you do.
which so the other part of it is that as we're looking at the feedback standpoint again,
Mm,
feedback suggests that if you're not getting the kind of outcomes that you want, you can either be satisfied with the continuing decline of those outcomes until there is no satisfiable outcomes, or
right.
you can immediately recognize it, begin to address it, have things in place, have people in place to help kind of shore you up,
Yeah.
which, if people will understand that asking for help is not some show or evidence of weakness, but rather it's one of the biggest signs of strength that you can have, because you're actually asking for help so you can stay strong.
True.
You're trying to maintain strength.
And you're
You're
honest.
trying not to succumb to whatever this is. So
Yes.
you're asking for support to stay up here
True.
because you feel the knees starting to weaken a little bit.
True.
So from that standpoint, you want to make sure that you have a network
Yeah.
of trusted counsel, trusted support
Yes.
around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And asking for help is basically goes sometime against the grain of their mental ego. All egos is mental. You know, all feelings are emotional. Just be it's a given thing. So if you start thinking about all your mental ego is just going to be like the wind in front of you. The headwind is really going to expand that small crack in the windshield into larger and larger. So beware of that. The air is very nice, but then the ego that is really hurts you to ask for help. And I believe this is like this, that asking for help is like you really understand that, okay, I'm asking for help because I'm honest to myself, that, okay, I need help. So that honesty comes out very stark, very, very stark up, and say, okay, now because I need help, now you try to find out a way into who is the right person. As you said, oh, well, the friend may be the good start, but they may not be the complete start altogether, because then, the same thing happens. They might take advantage, or you don't know whether you can trust them or not. Even if you trust them, you don't go all in, right? Because they are ultimately your friends. You don't know how they would use it. So the third person coach who has got a credentials, and of course your theme about having few more in the bucket instead of having just one, where you could go to certain areas of certain element, you can say, right? Like how you go to doctor for heart specialist, for brain tumor, for everything. So good thought, Rod. Good thought. Okay, I want to kind of ask you that most of them, I mean, when you talk about total wellness, there are three aspects of it. One is your physical attribute of it, right? Then your second one you talk about is your mental strength. How strong mentally you are. That goes the yoga and everything that comes along with it. But there is a very important aspect that is the medicinal aspect of biohacking your body, right? So somebody would like to take ginseng, somebody would like to take all this fancy
Ashwagandha.
yeah, ashwagandha and all. They are I would say with ginseng is a wrong example, because they are all natural in nature. So they're kind of like a milder body hug, because they really align your brain. But there are somebody who take direct amino acids, right? They take certain kind of uh, 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 like choline. They would take something like serapeptase. Those are some of
Yeah.
the biohacks that they clean up your body, and they're all good. I'm not saying they're not good. They're all good.
Mhm.
So is there something? What's your views on that, Rod? What do you think?
My thoughts on it, I think that we are able and probably supposed to be able to get everything that we need from nature to
Mhm,
be healthy.
mhm.
And my only concern with anything like that gets to be with where does it come from? What is it supposed to do?
True.
And then if it's something that you really don't know anything about, again, as previously stated, there's no shame in going to talk to someone professional to find out before you ingest these things. I think that there is no one size fits all diet.
Mhm,
There is no one size fits all exercise program. There's no one mindset fits all.
mhm.
So it has to be appropriated to that person and what their needs are, because literally every body is different.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what one person takes that helped all of their numbers to increase can be something that sends this next person into a decline.
True.
So you have no way of just knowing, or when people see that it's working for everybody else, they say, well, I'm going to take that myself. Whether that was what was it, fen or the
Yeah.
ephedra back in the day, when people don't know about it, but certain people say that it's been successful. depending on the pull that this other person has on you, you may or may not take it.
True.
You know, so but it shouldn't be about whether or not it worked for someone else, because the same 150-pound person of your same age does not have the same, may not have the same factors,
Yeah.
you know, outside of that as you. You know, maybe they work out all the time, maybe they eat their broccoli, you know,
Okay.
whatever the case may be. But this is a different person.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they had more time to work out. Maybe they go to bed tonight as opposed to tomorrow all the time. You know,
True.
so you can't necessarily, you know, decide what you're going to do for yourself and
Understood.
your body, your house, based
Yeah.
upon what someone's doing next door. You know what I mean?
True. True. Absolutely
So
true. Do your own research.
some
You're
things,
saying you do your own
some
research.
things, exactly. You're going to be your best investigator when it comes to things like that. Just that goes back to another point that I'd like to make. Anyone that I work with, they
Mhm.
are the expert. I'm not the expert. They are the expert on what's going on with them.
Yes.
I have to ask the right questions. I have to be listening for not just what they're saying, but also for what they're not saying.
True.
And from that standpoint, they through the series of questions and then me listening, my listening is allowing that person to talk themselves through
Mhm.
and to the answers. You
True.
know, so there are arenas obviously where if they ask me something,
Yeah.
you know, for my opinion, that's one thing. But even then, it's from the standpoint that this is a client-centered approach that I am taking, because you know,
True.
I don't want to be going around shoulding all over the place, and I don't want them shoulding all over the place.
True, true, very true, very
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge I think when you start a program for wellness is really the accountability by a student. You know,
Yeah.
you spoke about laziness. You spoke about in a time of pandemics we are overly lazy. You spoke about that, but you know somehow when you start a program you are very energetic to go in, and I am sure every of my viewer they have felt this in some part of their life, you know, that you're very energetic, you're going to a program, you
Yeah.
are there in there 10%, and then you said okay I got it, okay, and then you start becoming lazier. You know,
Yeah.
it's basically very difficult to get everybody to be accountable for the discipline to be about. So I'm sure, Todd, you must have had some experience in that area. Would you like to share?
There are a few that I can recall, but I would say that what tends to happen is, you know, a person, you know, I have had a woman who started, she was probably in her early 50s at the time,
Okay.
and was pretty close to the decision of, you know, wanting to have surgery and, you know, all these kind of things, and
Mhm.
really hadn't given themselves the best shot at consistently eating right, working out, going to
Wow.
bed,
Mhm.
not being a workaholic, you know. And honestly, you know, none of us go 100 miles an hour 100% of the time.
Right.
And when it comes right down to it, you only have maybe 3% of the population that does those things day in and day out. The eating properly all the time, you know, clean, so to speak,
True.
the working out, the resting, the having the right attitude, you know, only about 3% of the population. So
True.
because of that, the rest of us, we start making progress, and then we'll let somebody else talk us out of it because they're discounting it or discrediting it,
Mhm.
or we had unrealistic expectations ourselves.
Okay.
And that's what this client had already met, you know, and was taking past failure, as she was stating it, into every opportunity,
Okay.
when all of those were opportunities again for feedback. And the feedback is that if this person now was allowed to start looking at her relationship with food from the standpoint of 80-20 principle.
Okay.
Okay, 80% of the time I eat healthy. I eat what are the green light foods, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with red light, yellow light, and green light foods,
I
but
am.
basically, if this person is eating more of the green light foods, they
Mm,
notice that they feel better, that they sleep better, that they're in a better attitude, in a better mood, better temperament,
right.
all these kind of things, and they just have more energy and all this. But then they'll let someone else
Uh,
talk them. You've only lost this many pounds, or you still wearing this, or you still so
demotion.
instead, you get them to understand that motivation is not what got them started.
True.
The
True.
reality of needing to start was what got them started. Motivation is what keeps you going. The
Going.
motivation, the
Yeah.
motivation continues, or it builds once we get started.
True.
And this individual, once they actually embraced that, I didn't get to the point that I am in one day or in one week. So
Yes.
realistically, I'm not going to get there in a day or in a week,
True.
but I can get better. I can do 1% better
Yes.
today than I did yesterday. I can hold a plank for 1 second longer.
True.
You know,
True.
I I can I can eat one more piece of fruit today. I can eat one more vegetable. I can go to bed at 11:30 instead of 12:30 tonight.
Yes. Correct. Have good sleep.
You know, any and all of those kind of things. I can cuss out one less person today.
Yes.
Whatever it is in maintaining,
Yes.
in making progress. That's what we want to shoot for.
True.
Where am I winning? Not where am I losing all the time. You
Yes.
know,
Correct.
um, and that's been the other thing is as I've seen things and the way people have handled the pandemic.
Mm,
You've had some people who, as soon as they have been diagnosed, they
mm.
felt like their whole world was crumbling and caving in. And
Uh,
I'm not uh, diminishing how they thought or felt,
right.
but I do know that the more you labor on and dwell on the negative,
Mm,
ruminating, if you will, the more that tends to be empowered and just become
oh,
a more formidable opponent. The more and more you talk about it,
yeah.
it's kind of like you get out of a relationship and you still talking about this ex.
Yes. Yeah.
The likelihood of you being able to completely stay away from that ex
True.
diminish because everything out of your mouth is still about this ex. He
Yeah.
this, she that,
Yeah.
over and over again.
It's wrong.
So our relationship with sickness and infirmity, man, I'm so sick. My head hurts so bad. I don't feel like doing anything. I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Sorry in here.
When we can fix our mind around the fact that I'm not gonna always feel like this.
Yes.
What am I able to do? What am I still grateful for?
Mm,
Because people were getting it and still are getting it and expiring from it.
I
So
see.
it's not
I
to be
see.
diminished. But
Mm,
when we do get it, and I did get it back in February, and one thing that I kept telling myself is I'm not going to stop moving. I'm
okay.
not going to just lay and wallow around
Yeah.
in it because I don't want to go empowering this thing that I have seen kill people close to me.
I know. Yeah.
I'm
Understood.
gonna I'm gonna do what I know to do, which was, as far as I know in my small amount of knowledge regarding it, was loading up on vitamin C, taking B6, B12,
Yes.
uh, zinc, selenium,
Things.
and
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D. And still getting up each morning doing my 41 push-ups because I've gone from 40 to 41 in this time. So
Right.
now I
Nice.
get up is 41 push-ups,
Right.
and just try to keep on moving that way.
True.
Otherwise, I felt like it was gonna linger,
I know.
that it was just gonna stay with me and just keep on bringing me down and keep making me feel lethargic, or I would keep going on not being able to smell or not being able to taste. And that is the worst,
Yeah.
especially when your grandmother fixes a lemon glazed cake like mine does,
I
and
know.
you're eating it and you can't taste it. Ah, that's but we have to do what we know to do, and whatever it takes to keep motivation going. have that vision board, write those notes or those messages to ourselves.
Right.
Keep, as Les Brown and others would say, keep OQP around us, which is only quality people.
Quality people.
Keep those
Yes.
quality people around us.
Yes.
Those people who are encouraging us, who are inspiring us, not
True.
the people who are making us doubt and question ourselves, or are quick
That's
to
true.
discount and discredit us, cutting
Yeah.
us with their words or literally cutting us. We don't
Yeah.
need to be we don't need to
Yeah.
be around those people.
True. Very
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
it makes a big difference when we're dealing or battling adversity, and I think that's one of the biggest components, is we either feel like in the midst of our adversity that we have the tools and the support and the resources around us, the context, if you will, to
Right.
help us to overcome and be successful conquerors,
Hmm.
or we have no one. And from the outside in, or
Right.
outside meeting with what we already have going on the inside at that point, that
True.
loneliness, that despair,
Hmm.
that isolation, that need to have somebody tell us it's going to be okay, that everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Without that, it's downhill. It can be downhill in a hurry that way.
True.
So
True.
so definitely having a quality context of people,
Hmm.
messages, something around us that encourages us and keeps us afloat. That is one of the biggest necessities I found in dealing with adversity and the struggle that comes with going through struggle and suffering.
Yeah, very true, very true. And let me tell my viewers also about one of my own personal fights within myself on as the progress of Gurukul kind of unfolded itself, right? So we when from conceptual side, we will conceptualize a training platform from our mission and goal, how we kind of morphed into Gurukul as such. In between there were so many doubts, there were so many negative people who came into us, so many, but they were positive, so we kept on hurting the positive side from the people side of it. But if you look at internally as a person, as our team members, talking to themselves, you would say, you would always doubt, oh, is it going to be good, is it going to be successful, well, how it will be, those questions keep nagging you. Now it's up to yourself, viewers, to kind of see that, okay, if I keep having those nagging walls hitting me all the time, you're never going to succeed. Okay, period. That's given. You even if you get a guru, you get a coach to help you out, he's going to say the same thing. Okay, get the negativity out, think positive, but don't think positive that is not achievable. Think achievable positive steps, right? So that's and for that you need somebody like Todd who can help you to kind of get your whole total wellness program all set up for yourself, right? So that's a very good thought. I felt like sharing my own personal experience for this journey for last. I mean, we are building this product for last 1.5 years now. We went live about 6 months ago. Live means onto public 6 months ago, and then we will be having a major release by end of this month that will propel our gurus to the level of they can now then share, do the live training on Gurukul. They don't have to go to anything else. So good stuff to come. Stay on, viewers. Okay, so that's good. I think we covered a lot of ground over here. We went in depth about how things really work, mentally, physically. We have got your experience yeah, on it, Todd. Uh, I keep saying Todd. Sorry about that. It's Rod. Okay, Todd Simmons. Okay. So what I would, yeah, what I really want to do is, you gave lot many messages now for last almost like an hour now. Would you like to kind of give a message, a parting message, because we are almost on the end of our Guru Talk show. I'd like to say something about this. These 2 minutes just for you. You kind of say anything you would like to say to our viewers from this point.
I would just say that, to all of the viewers, regardless of what it is that you're going through right now, any of the hurts, any of the pains, any of the betrayals, um, any of the other angst that you may be feeling due to things that have gone on over the past year and a half, or maybe even longer in your life, is to look for the lesson. And I know obviously there are exceptions in there where sometimes we feel like things are happening over and over again to us, but I would just help alleviate that just a little bit by just ask yourself, what are the lessons that you're learning from those situations? And also begin to look at them as what was happening for you. Did those things just happen to you and now you're just a victim and now you're just hurting and suffering? I can tell you, things happen to us in this life that we don't plan for. And when those things happen, they expose us as either being ready, prepared, or being sorely lacking when it comes to those areas.
True.
And that don't mean that we're going to address those times or those situations perfectly. But in the midst of all of those situations will be an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves, to
Yeah.
learn about those who are around us,
True.
what it means to have faith or not have faith, what it means to have the actual love and the respect of people or around us or
Mm.
not. And then looking at those things and accepting those things and receiving those things, we ultimately are the ones who are trying constantly to be the star of our show, you know. And unless the next person is privy to the script of our show, they have no idea what's going on.
True. Very true.
So the likelihood of there being misinterpretations, miscommunications, even disrespectful things at
Yeah.
times to arise, they are inevitable. So the best thing we could do is communicate, learn
Yes.
to be better communicators. And that's not always about the things that we're saying, even though we do want to be quality and clear in the
True.
things that we're saying, but even becoming better at listening, not just hearing that somebody's talking,
Right.
but listening to the things that they're saying for understanding, for comprehension, so we can better relate to what people are going through.
True.
And to stop being so hasty to read the headline based upon the chapter that we walked in on someone's life if we're
True.
not interested in reading what the actual story is.
True. True. Very true.
Find out what the story is, find out what a person's story is, and then you can better understand why they work, how they work, and the things that make them tick. Don't
True.
just read a headline, because we know sometimes a lot of junk out there is just for clickbait. So, but that's all I would say is continue to learn about yourself, continue to grow, get only quality people around yourself, and don't be afraid to ask yourself the tough questions and to accept the answers, and then to have the courage to do something with it. And,
Awesome.
and as I've said with you, Andy, as we started with, our first wealth is our health.
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely. That's wise words from our Rod Sims, and I think we have reached to a point where uh, viewers, I'm sure you learned a lot from of what total wellness is today. And to, of course, to know more, you can always visit Rod Simmons' LinkedIn site, as well as you can always go on Gurukol. We'll be having his detailed profile page set up over there, and his courses set up.
the book as well. The book is a great is a good tool and resource to have as well. The book
Nice.
we call B.O.U.N.C.E,
Uh-huh.
which stands for Be Outstanding, Understand Nothing Comes Easy. So
Awesome.
it's on Amazon, Goodreads as well. So
Awesome. So you can go to Amazon and look for Rod's book over there. And we'll have those book when we launch the Gurukul store. So very soon we'll have store.gurukul.com. That's coming soon. Where Rod's book will be on that the store as well. Coming to a point of saying thank you to all my viewers, and I again thank Rod to come here, share your time, share your important message, as well as share your experience of what's been going on in recent times. And we are very, very glad to hear your journey of last 20-25 years in this wellness world. And we wish you the best. And again, we will be inviting you again. So this is the first time, but this is not the last time you'll be here. So certainly we will have you more on our Guru Talk Show and on our Gurukol YouTube channel. So look forward to talking to you again. Thank you,
Thanks for
viewers.
having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, viewers. See you in the next Guru Talk Show. Bye.
Yes, sir.